We are very pleased to welcome today to our studio Diana Stevan, a Canadian author who joins us, who came all the way from West Vancouver to Toronto. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you very much for having me, Juliana.
We are very, very, very happy to see you in person
Yes.
in the studio because we already did a couple times interviews over Skype. We will be talking today about your family saga, the trilogy, which is based on your family's history. The first one, Sunflowers Under Fire, is the story about your grandmother Lucia in Volane and how she was left a widow and decided to immigrate to Canada.
Yes.
The second book is Paper Roses. I'm sorry. Lilacs in the Dust Bowl. It's about the family coming here and trying to settle in the prairies around Winnipeg area. And the book number 3 is Paper Roses on the Stony Mountain. It's about Lucia's children growing up and trying to settle and raise families or start families. Now, the first book, Sunflowers Under Fire, was nominated for Whistler Independent Book Awards and the semi-finalist for the 2019 Kindle Book Award, literary fiction category. And Paper Roses on the Stony Mountains belong in the Miramichi list of best fiction for 2022. So
yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you so
very,
much.
very exciting, and it's a big accomplishment. I just wanted to ask you first, when you decided to write your family saga, first of all, why you decided to do this? It's a big undertaking, and did you know that it will end up to be 3 books?
No, I didn't. I thought I would only write, I wasn't even going to write any, but I was telling one of the family stories to my granddaughter, Chloe, and she said, why don't I write the book? I had already written 2 other novels, and why don't I write my Baba's story? And I thought, okay. And then I finished writing this one, and then readers said they wanted to know what happened next. So then I kept writing.
Amazing. Okay, so tell us please about the research, what you've done for your stories. How much of it, of your family history, went into the books, and how much you had to research to make the story believable and to know the background of your Baba's life in Volane and also moving to Canada?
Well, my mother, she wasn't educated. She had maybe grade 3 in Ukraine, and but she was a wonderful storyteller. So Mama would always talk about what happened in Ukraine, and I would, later on in life when she got older, I started to write them down. So by the time my mother passed away, I had 130 pages of her stories. But when I started to write it, I discovered that there were a lot of blanks because my mama just had her stories, but there was a lot going on in Ukraine at the time of her birth. She was born in 1915, and just shortly after that, her tato volunteered for the Tsar's army, so I had to know what was going on, militarily in Ukraine, what the pressures were. I know Baba and the family had to escape by a freight train to the Caucasus. I wanted to find out where that refugee camp was, how they had to travel. So I went to university libraries. I went to Vancouver, Toronto, Winnipeg, New York City, even Stamford, Connecticut, which has a very large Ukrainian library. And I even looked at some books in Ukrainian. I can read and write, but some of it I'm limited. I don't have that vocabulary. So, and then I also talked to a friend of mine, Oleg Garis, who is a professor of Slavic studies at the University of Manitoba, and my cousin, Genya, who was a baby when she came to Canada. So, so and then I knew my mother's family. I knew there were characters, and I have a background in family therapy, so I could imagine what they were like as children. So all of that kind of came together.
So what was the most challenging thing in research?
Well, the challenging thing is because a lot of the records were burned during the wartime. So I had to really dig deep, and that's why I had to spend so much time researching, because it's not easily available, like what happened during wartime, during World War I, and then there was the Polish occupation. Well, then there was the Civil Wars, the Bolshevik Revolution. So I had to, you know, I was like a puzzle, trying to put all the pieces together, Juliana, and then weave in my mother's stories. She had incidents that happened, what went on, like when they were traveling to the Caucasus, and one of the Tsar's daughters actually saved her life on the freight train. Yeah. So she was working as a Red Cross nurse, one of the Romanov, Olga Nikolaevna. So I had to find out, was that true? You know, and I just verifying a lot of my mother's stories.
So what actually happened? Was your mother was sick? Or?
Well, she was there traveling just shortly after they had to escape, and my mother's belly button became infected very badly. And Baba was on the train, didn't know what to do. Oi, 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 you know, so anyway, she was lucky that the nurse was there and came and treated my mother, and mother recovered.
Oh, that's lucky for us, for all of us.
Lucky for me. I wouldn't be here.
Yes. Well, given that your grandmother had so many children, you probably have a big family of cousins and more distant relatives. How did they accept it, or what do they say about these books?
Well, they were thrilled. They were thrilled, and I sent copies to all my cousins. There was one cousin I was worried about. I've actually lost a few. Their father had, you know, some challenges with drinking, and so I was worried about but she said, well, Diana, that's what happened.
Yes.
So she accepted that journey. I wanted to write, you know, an honest story. My mother was a very honest storyteller, so.
And that's what makes a good story.
Yes.
It is. Okay, good to know. So let's talk about the appearance of the books. First of all, the titles, and then the photographs of people on your book covers.
Yes. Well, the first one, Sunflowers Under Fire, I was thinking about no tears, because I never saw Baba cry. At first, but then I thought, once I started writing the story, I was crying sometimes when I was writing it, and I thought, well, of course she didn't cry. She shed all her tears in the old country, and just like people who come back from war, they don't want to talk about it because they're afraid of opening the floodgates. They'll start crying. And then I found out No Time for Tears. There were other books with that title. And then I was on the internet, and I was sort of searching out other possibilities, and I found some Ukrainian website, and I found out sunflowers is the national flower of Ukraine, of Ukraina. So I thought, okay, sunflowers, and it's wartime, under fire. So that's how that title came out.
It resonates today very much.
Yes. And then in Lilacs in the Dust Bowl, that's my tato on the cover with lilacs, and it was the Depression, and I think because I used flowers, I went with flowers again, lilacs in the Dust Bowl. And then the last one was my mother made beautiful paper roses, and there's a whole chapter in here about how she makes these roses because they're very poor. They're living in Stony Mountain, and she's married, and it's a way of making money.
Yes, she tried. She was very entrepreneurial. So what I found out from the book, she tried many things.
And she was very good with her hands. She crocheted and she cross-stitched, and like a lot of Ukrainian women, right? They make beautiful, beautiful, pisanki and sorochki. Just shirts and
so
everything.
I know that for a writer or for any creator, their creations are like children to them.
Yes.
So what kind of life you want your books to have? And what kind of reviews you're getting from your readers?
I'm getting very good reviews. I'm so thrilled, Juliana. I think what I find most thrilling is I'm touching hearts of many, And so many women and men are writing to me and saying this reminds them of their grandmother or their baba, or and thanking me for the stories that it fills in. They wonder what happened during that time, and so they're reading my book, and because I did the research, they're getting a sense of what their own grandparents,
how it was in those times.
In those times. So I'm hoping it's now available. They're now available in hardcover too, and I've just put out large print because I have a lot of senior readers, people that have difficulty. So they're now all available in large print as well.
Oh, this is great, and I think these books would be great textbooks for the high school students. You know, when they learn in history of Canada, you know, in Ukraine, history of Ukraine, obviously, but even for the Ukrainian diaspora, like younger generation who wants to know about their babusas, didusas, grandparents, you know, who how it happened that they came to Canada, how they settled in the prairies. Oh my goodness, that was such a plight. It was unbelievably hard.
Well, you know, Baba, there was an opportunity to come to Canada because Canada was giving out farmland in 1929, and her oldest son, Hanat, his wife was pregnant, Elena was expecting, and they couldn't expand. The Polish government at the time would not allow them to have more farmland. And also her son, Michalko, wanted to join the Polish army.
Yes.
Or he thought maybe he'd go to Argentina, because a lot of Ukrainians were going to Argentina. And so she thought, okay, she wants to keep the family together. She had lost some children already, didn't want to lose any more. And so she thought, okay, come to Canada. The United States had closed their borders at that time, 1929. So she came, lied about her age.
She did what she had to do.
Did what she had to do.
How many children she brought with her?
4.
4, and one of them was married already with a baby.
Yes, just
so
had the baby.
So it was a big family, and she was a matriarch. She was thinking for everyone.
Yes, and so she
very brave.
Very hard because she had to leave her mother behind. She had to leave the family graves behind. And then she came in 1929 in August, just before the stock market crashed. It crashed in October, and the world went into a 10-year depression. So here they were on a farm in Manitoba. By that point, it was the second wave, second immigration wave from Ukraine, and all the good land had been taken. So the land they got was lots of stones, you know.
Hard to work on.
Yes, very hard. So they left one set of problems behind. They were happy to come, but
encountered
lots of problems.
Very interesting. I hope our viewers will be reading these books, because once you open the book, you won't be able to put it down until you acquire all 3, read all 3 from cover to cover. Diana, thank you very much. What's next for you? I know that you will not stop writing and creating. What's next for you?
Well, I'm hoping that that Sunflowers Under Fire will become a limited series. I've started writing the screenplay. Now I have to see if I can find a producer or an agent of interest, and I'm working on a collection of short stories based on, you know, the theme is rooming houses in Winnipeg, and of course my characters are largely, there's some Ukrainian background and some other stories. So.
And it's probably based also on some at least of your mother's stories, right? She went through those rooming houses.
Although it's not their characters, but yes, yes, I'm drawing from what I know too, yes.
Oh, amazing. Well, Diana, thank you very much for coming to our studio, for finding time. And of course, knowing that you come in here, I brought my 3 books and asking you to autograph, please.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you so much,
very
Liliana,
much.
and thank you for the lovely interview.
Thank you, and all the best to you.